I always thought that 26 years would be enough to make everything vanish into thin air. But when I stepped back onto the land of my hometown, seeing my father's aged face, my childhood sweetheart growing up, and the man I deeply loved having once had a heart for another woman, I realized that some emotional entanglements can't be smoothed out even after 26 years. Chapter 51. The landscape had transformed in my absence, as if nature itself had flourished without the weight of war. The verdant expanses stretched further than I remembered, their hues richer and more vibrant. The ocean sparkled with an intensity that rivaled the clearest sapphires, their waves lapping at shores of sand that gleamed golden under the sun's embrace. Everything seemed to have blossomed into a more beautiful version of itself during my time away. I attempted to redirect our course back to the castle, but 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺 remained steadfast in its determination. No matter how many commands I issued or how fervently I pleaded with the magnificent flying creature, it refused to alter its path. The beast's loyalty to 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺 was evident in its insistence on heading north, as if driven by an invisible force that superseded even my own desires. With every fiber of my being, I prayed that 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺 had found solace with my family. The alternative, the thought of him mourning me in isolation for 26 long years, was too painful to contemplate. Yet, unbidden images of my son drowning himself in paperwork, unable to face the memory of his absent mother, crept into my mind. I could almost see 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺's spirit slowly fading, his vibrant soul dimming with each passing day. The weight of these imaginations threatened to crush me, and I struggled to push them aside. As we approached the top of my father's palace, 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺 let out another resounding screech. The familiar sight of the stronghold, unchanged after all this time, sent a pang of nostalgia through my heart. Without warning, the beast plummeted downward, the sudden descent causing the wind to whip around me. As we plunged through the air, I felt my battle-worn body react to the memories flooding back. The wounds of war seemed to dry on my skin, the blood of fallen enemies crusting over as if freshly spilled. The weight of the conflict I had left behind 26 years ago settled heavily upon me, and I realized that the moisture in my eyes washed from the rushing wind, but from the overwhelming tide of emotions brought on by confronting my past. Never before had I longed for my history as I did in that moment. The intensity of my yearning was so profound that it felt as if my heart might implode under the pressure. I found myself clinging to memories that, for me, were mere minutes sold 13 minutes that had stretched into 26 years for the rest of the world. The discrepancy was almost too much to bear, and I pursed my lips tightly, fighting back the sobs that threatened to escape. 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺 touched down before the palace with earth-shaking force, its massive form causing the ground to tremble. The northerners gathered around, their gasps of astonishment filling the air as they recognized the returned warrior. Children gazed up at me with wonder-filled eyes, their innocence a stark contrast to the grief that consumed me. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Could it be? The mighty warrior is back. We held her quarter-century ceremony only a year ago. Their words pierced through my melancholy. Ceremony. They held ceremonies in my honor. The realization that I had been remembered and celebrated during my absence added another layer to the complex emotions swirling within me as I faced this changed yet familiar world. A crowd gathered around me, wary of not getting too close to the warrior who had gone missing. They were scared, shocked, and so confused. As was I. My throat clogged with needless tears. 𝐿𝐺𝐵𝐵𝐺. A male voice echoed from behind me. Is that you? I spun with whiplash speed, unable to recognize the foreign face in front of me. It's me, 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺. The tall man introduced himself, hands held out in ceasefire as he approached me with slow, careful steps. Your step, brother. Just 13 minutes ago. He was 8 years old. Just 13 minutes ago. He was pulling me across the northern markets, begging me to paint a picture with him in his very living room. 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺, I whispered, palming my lips with both hands. It was true. The witch was lying. 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺, the boy I knew to be the future alpha of the north, was older than me. He sported a stubble and a round, chiseled face just like father's. Bile rose in my throat as he stared down at me. his height towering over my broken body. I refused to believe it. "How old are you?" I asked, jaw ticking as I tried to hold in my tears. "As of today." "How old are you?" "Everyone, go back to your homes. You are not to leave until the sun has set." I understood, Nader ordered, all while maintaining eye contact with me. "Yes, Alpha," they chanted, scurrying back into their roofs. "Alpha, Alpha, I am 33 years old." "Layla," Nader said. 33, I exclaimed. You were just 8 years old." "Layla, come inside, Layla." Father familiar voice slammed into my soul, driving me to shift my vision from Nader to him. Father stood at the steps of his home, eyes squinted as he leaned against a cane with the A-tool supporting him to his side. "Layla," Father rasped once more. "Just let." Without a second thought, I ran. I ran with speed like never before and jumped into his arms, baffled as he caught me even when he couldn't even support himself. I sobbed into his shoulder, tightening my grip on him oh so evermore. Seeing him look so frail etched infinite scars in my memories. It was only then that I realized I did not want Father to grow old. I did not want him to grow old without me. "Oh, Layla, Layla," he cried out, eyes facing the glimmering skies. "Oh my, what a beautiful day it is." Father tried to put up a FA8 for me, but anyone could see right through him. He shook in my arms, the strength of his cries uncontrollable while he held me as thought I would slip right through his arms at any given moment. "Oh goddess." I spun around at the dear voice, a sad smile making its way onto my wet lips. There stood 𝐶𝐬, paint scattered all over his body with a brush in his hand. He ran a hand down his face, an attempt to hide the tears crawling down his skin. Before shaking his head, he dropped the stained brush in his hand and rashly strode towards me, forcing me to leave Father's warmth and to rush into his own. We met one another's arms with equal force, reminding me once more of the absolute warrior my big brother was. "I'm sorry, Layla," 𝐶𝐬 grieved. "I'm so fucking sorry. Don't apologize," I whispered into his chest. "As long as I'm here, I forgive you. As long as you're painting again, I will forget. Just like you have. I love you, Layla. Even back then. I swear I did." He rushed, forcing tears to my eyes. "Layla, I thought you were gone. We all thought you were gone. I thought I lost you all. I let out. Tears drying onto 𝐶𝐬's overalls. "It's wonderful to have you back." Nader smiled softly. "It truly is. You have blessed our lands more than you already have." Just as I was about to return the gesture to Nader, a gasp escaped my lips. "Where's Luca?" I asked, leaving 𝐶𝐬's hold. "Where is my mail?" They all remained silent, pulling at the invisible strings of my heart. Angst swarmed through my chest at the looks on their faces. "Is he okay?" I asked, swallowing down an array of tears. "Is he 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷 right here? 30? I spun with whiplash speed, eyes meeting marvelous ocean pools of blue. Luca stood in front of me, chest heaving. My lips parted. He looked bigger, arms the size of mountains as he leaned forward. Our bond reignited once our eyes connected, blue meeting green and green meeting blue. I felt everything, so much that the energy of his grief pushed me being backwards. Tears sprung to my eyes as his emotions twisted the strings of my heart. My mail had been mourning my disappearance for 26 years. 26 grueling years. "Luca," I whispered, breath shaky. "Oh, Luca, Luca." He strode towards me, each step long and laced with fervor like no other. I could not move. My feet were glued to the ground. I feared he was a fragment of my imagination, that the birds singing around us were not real. He was too beautiful, too perfect, to everything. His presence was overwhelming, so much that I forgot how to breathe. The closer he got, the harder it became to keep my eyes open. Our bond was squeezing the energy out of me, clogging my every vein and artery after being compressed for 26 years. Suddenly, I was in his arms in the absolute warmth his skin radiated. I was home with him. Only his hold could make me feel as though we were the only two being that existed on this planet. My heart slowed in its beats. In fact, it slowed too much, so much that I felt my soul begin lurching out my body as Luca tightened his grip on me. Even when it felt like I was on the brink of death, I managed to muster up my last droplets of energy to wrap my arms around his body, the one that was molded to fit mine. Luca dug his head into my neck, inhaling my scent as he let out quivering breaths that graced warm winds into the slope of my neck. Black spots began flooding my vision, just as my leg stopped carrying my weight. "Leela," Luca whispered, worry swarming his beautiful blue orbs. "I love you, I love you," I whispered back, unable to hold myself any longer. Without a second thought, Luca carried me in his arms as he ran, shouting incoherent words. "Keep your eyes open, Leela." Luca looked down at me, the wind passing through his hair wonderfully as tears escaped his eyes. "Whatever you do, don't close them. Don't deprive me of those eyes once more." Those were the last words I heard before succumbing to the darkness that drove my vision away. Chapter 52. My body felt as though it were a star collapsing in on itself, dense and hollow all the more. I groaned, rubbing at my eyes before opening them. I immediately regretted doing so as the seeping sun seeped into my vision, forcing me to shut my eyes just as fast as I opened them. "Leela, take it easy." Luca's velvety voice oozed into my ears like a lullaby. The sound of blinds being shut echoed throughout the room, compelling me to slowly open my eyes. After blinking for a few beats, my blurry vision finally registered the wonderful being of a man that stood in front of me, brows furrowed in concern as he leaned against the bed I laid comfortably in. "How are you feeling, Verdi?" he asked, voice ushering shivers down the length of my spine. Like a mountain just crashed on top of me, I replied, voice raspy. "I feel heavy everywhere." I didn't know where to begin. To me, only 13 minutes had passed since I'd last seen Luca, but to him, 26 years had. I was uncharted territory to him, and that consulted in the making of cracks into my heart that spilled white-hot poison into my organs. So much could have happened for him, so much I did not get the opportunity to see. As I examined him, head tilted, everything about him was different just as much as it was the same. He was the same Luca I had met a month ago, but he was also not. "Where were you, Leela?" he asked, voice shaky. His eyes were so distraught as he asked me the question I was dreading to answer. I looked down, fiddling with my fingers as his eyes were much too burdened to look at. My heart already ached with the force of my lands ripping in half. Why did he have to make it worse? Tears burned into my vision. Luca placed a finger underneath my chin and lifted my head upwards, forcing our eyes to meet once more. His eyes roped me into his soul, in fact. Everything about him pulled my being into his. I could feel his warmth despite the inches separating our bodies from meeting. I could taste his lips despite the supposed years that had passed. I could inhale his scent as though I had met him just yesterday. But all of that seemed far away. It was all at the tip of my tongue, unable to manifest into what it was born to be. "Talk to me, Verdi," he pleaded, inching his body close. "Let it out. Tell me everything. I need to know where you were. I need to know what happened to you. I cannot rest if I don't." My jaw shook at his words as tears drove down the apples of my cheeks. I looked down once more, shaking my head. I don't know where to begin. "What did the witch do to you?" His eyes flashed a bright amber as he palmed my neck in his hands, squatting so that our eyes leveled with one another. "How did she keep you from me for all this time?" Images of my fight with the witch flickered through my memories, pulling at the knotted strings of my heart. "She made me kill my mother again," I croaked, wrapping my hands around his wrist as I stared into his eyes. "She made it so that every minute I spent with her was 2 years to everyone else. She made it so that the birds no longer sang so long as I stepped into her coven." My body shook as I tightened my grip on his wrist. "She made me watch as mother's eyes dulled once more. She made me miss so much. She made me lose everything." "Oh, Leela, He pulled my head into his chest, pushing sobs out of my soul so evermore. 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐻𝐬, you have not lost everything. You have only lost time. Nobody has passed since your absence. Time is the most important gift of all. Luca, I pushed away from him, facing his eyes once more. I missed so many memories, so many celebrations, so many changes. I missed birthdays. I missed first steps. I missed needless arguments I could be laughing about now. I missed 26 more years with you. Luca, 𝐊𝐲, for all I know, we could have had 3 pups running around the shores of our home. But now, it's too late. It's all too late. I'd pushed myself out of his grip, crying into my knees, unable to contain the grief growing in my chest. You have all bonded with one another in my absence, shared plates of wondrous food as you laughed about memories I missed so carelessly. You all live in the same timeline, whereas I live alone, on my own calendar, just like how I was in the outskirts. 𝐊𝐲, listen to me, now, I shouted, heart bursting with agony. The goddess has destined me with the gift of one, the gift of loneliness. All my life I have been alone, and just when I seem to have adjusted with you, with Laura and my lost family, it's all gone. Everything. I grabbed the coverage resting on top of my legs and pulled them off me, the intensity brewing atop my chest too much to handle. Just as I was about to step off the bed, Luca sped in front of me, stopping me. I understand your pain, 𝐊𝐲. I feel it fermenting in our bond. I feel your grief. I feel your helplessness. I feel it all. Luca rushed out, palming the tops of my thighs. Don't for 1 second say you feel alone. That sole reason is why I'm here. Our souls are one. You will never be alone. Every day since you went missing, you were the first thing I thought of, what I'd reckon, what I dreamt of in my slumber. He squeezed at my thighs, coercing simmering heat into my lower body. I will not let you go. Not now. Not ever. You have missed moments. Yes, I will not lie to you and say you have not, but that's the beauty of moments. You can make new ones. Better ones that are not laced with hollowness and defeat. Rather ones that are only filled with wholehearted fullness. I stared down at him as he looked up at me, swallowing down an array of inexplicable emotions. 𝐊𝐲, he began, voice bubbling with tears as he looked down. Every beautiful moment we had here was bittersweet. Every beautiful moment that passed ended with the grief of your absence. It is not something to be missed, rather something to be built upon. He shook his head, gulping before looking back up at me. You are here now. That is all that matters. The outskirts no longer subsist on our grounds, witches no longer have power, only we do. Balance has been restored once more. All thanks to you. All thanks to you. He licked the tears off his lips, watching my every movement as though you were afraid I was going to run off and disappear into the darkness once more. I felt his desperation through our bond. It brought out emotions I hadn't felt in years. I stared down at him, cupping his face in my hands as I let out a shaky breath. He was devilishly handsome, but his eyes were so mournful, so completely and utterly torn apart. Luca. A beat passed. 𝐊𝐲. His voice deepened as he stared up at me. 𝐊𝐲. Now we have time. We have all the time in the world. The moon is the only limit. My hands went from his neck and into his hair, pulling at his silky strands ever so slightly. His lips parted. Luca. I let out once more, watching as he shivered at the sound of his name on my tongue. Yes, 𝐊𝐲. I licked my lips. His eyes instantaneously moved from my eyes to my now wet lips. I love you. I croaked, and I need you to never let me go. I sounded meaty, and I knew it, but I was done being a hero. I was done sacrificing my future for everyone else's. I needed Luca to protect me. For I was so fucking over fixing myself. It was time that I finally accept the shoulder Luca had been lending me from the day I first met him. I will never. His hands ran up my thighs, dangerously close to my heat. He rose, back bent so his eyes were still connected to my own. I will never let you go. He repeated. You've fallen out of my grasp far too many times already. Our foreheads connected gracefully as we cried together, unknowingly absorbing one another infinitely robust grief. He rubbed circles against the skin behind my ear, sensing the heaviness weighing my thoughts. Never do that again. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐲𝐬, he begged, nuzzling his nose against mine. Never push me away. I would rather endure eternity alone with you than 26 years without. It's time I become selfish. It's time I put myself before everyone else. I nodded against his forehead. I love you. 𝐊𝐢𝐬, he rasped with haste. I am a lost soul without you. You make me whole. I love you too. Our eyes connected. The air around us was thick with sorrow and desire to be with one another forever. His warm breath and my skin, mere centimeters separated our lips from one another. I knew he was going to make the first move. To him, I was fragile. To him, I wasn't ready. To him, I was scared. And I was all of the above. But I needed him. It had only been mere minutes for me. But when my eyes connected with his, it felt like years. I ached for his touch, for his soul, for his voice and the wonders that laced his words. So I pulled him to me. I slammed his lips onto my own. They reignited a match in my soul, forcing eaves of fire to light up my hollow heart. We moved in perfect synchronous ambience, our warm fist seeping to become one. He moaned into my mouth. His hands went from my thighs to the dips of my waist, pulling me impossibly closer to him as we became one. He was so warm. Everything about him was hot to the touch, and it drove me insane. He met my lips with rigor. He tasted me with the force of 100 suns. He kissed me like it was his last time. It made me forget. It made my grief slip away. It made me feel full. Again, I pulled him onto the bed, shutting my eyes as he got on top of me. His core met mine, compelling a deep-throated moan out of me. He was the first to pull away, his eyes that beautiful amber once more. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, I can only control myself so much around you, he confessed, squeezing at the meat of my waist where hundreds of butterflies were set free. We have to stop. I didn't want to stop, but I knew we had to. I was not ready to mate with him after the disappearance of our bond. I knew I would regret if it happened in such a way. So I nodded with much hesitation. Just as he was about to get off me, I pulled at the fabric of his shirt, eyeing him with need. Lay with me? I asked, fisting the fabric in my hands. A few beats passed before he answered. You drive me insane. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, he let out, chest heaving. Absolutely insane. So we laid next to one another, listening to each other's heartbeats. It was the most serenity I'd felt in my entire life. I was no longer being chased. My family was safe. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬 was alive and well. And I was his. Forever. And always. Chapter 53. I looped the lace of my caftan, tightening its hold on my waist as I stared into the mirror. Green eyes stared back at me. Dull, glimmer-less green eyes. I sighed, straightening out the burgundy-red skirt before turning, not sparing myself another. I couldn't look at my own reflection without hating myself for not killing the witch fast enough. I couldn't look at myself knowing I killed my mother once more. I couldn't look at myself without thinking how much better I could have done not for everyone, but for myself. Warm arms wrapped around my waist, diminishing my capacity to think. I closed my eyes as I leaned into Lucas' chest, traitorous stares lining my vision. Stop thinking. Verdi, he whispered, breath fanning my ears. You did everything you could. You did everything you needed to. I nodded mindlessly, disagreeing with his kind words but agreeing with him just to silence my mind for the time being. It feels like this is a dream I could have never dreamed but one I am. I admitted, tone low. It still feels like I'm stuck. Nothing feels real. All of this is real. He reassured. The birds sing louder in your presence. The swivel against the wind with more grace when you're here. I blushed, eyes meeting the floor. You always know what to say. I mumbled, staring at our reflection in the mirror. I hate it. But I love it so much. I'm just glad you're back. He laid a wet kiss to my neck, compelling my eyes to close as I leaned further of my weight against his chest. Only the goddess knew how heavy my grief made me. Oh, Luca, let's not get into that now. He ushered. There's so much I have to tell you. So many people I want you to meet. I cannot wait to speak of the wonders I've uncovered. Well, do it all at your own pace. Thank you, I said, grateful. I just feel so disoriented. It's only been a day since I saw you, but for you it's been decades. The disorientation will subside. I don't know when it will, but it's only a matter of time. My lips parted. Is that what you thought when I was gone? I asked, turning to face him. He furrowed his brows, confused. That it's only a matter of time for me to come. That you would stay alone and wait for time to finally befriend you. I tilted my head, eyes shiny as they met his. Did you never once give up? Did you never once come to terms with the thought that I wouldn't come back? He let out a shaky breath, grip on my waist tightening. Worry laced his ocean orbs, evoking confusion out of me. What is it, Luca? I asked. Worry began settling over my heart as I sensed his panic through our bond. His grip on my waist farther tightened, forcing the smallest of gasps out of me, not at the pain, but at the shock of realization. He immediately let go at the sound of my voice. I'm sorry. There was a time. Wasn't there? I asked, every muscle in my body hardening. There was someone else. Wasn't there? It's not what you think, Leela. He rushed out, going to grab my hands only for me to step backwards. My soul crumbled. I knew 26 years was a long time. I knew it. With every fleeting moment. I knew how much 26 years could do, but how could he? How could his soul allow it? How could his wolf yearn for another woman's touch? Leela, if you were just, who is she? I asked, my wolf's eyes flashing a bright green. I will only tell you if you promise to do her no harm. My hurt quickly turned into anger. Why was he protecting another woman? I cannot make a promise I do not intend on keeping. I let out, cords scratching against the walls of my throat. Leela, I only met her last year. I mourned for you for 25 years. And even then, I made it clear to her that if you were to ever come back, I would choose you. He said, attempting to maintain his composure. She was the only one that understood me. Leela, she lost her mate in the war 2 weeks after meeting him. We mourned with one another. It was innocent. I never pronounced her mine, and she never pronounced me hers. My lips never touched hers. They could not. I could not bring myself to touch her the way I touched you. Tears ran down my cheeks. He spoke of her so dearly. You knew her for longer than you knew me. I croaked, unable to stop the knots forming in my chest. You've spoken to her more than you've spoken to me. Leela, to Leela. She means nothing now that you're here. He tried to walk towards me, but I held my plan up, stopping him. Leela, please, just try to understand me. I didn't even think of another woman until our bond disappeared. Is what we have simply the product of a bond? I asked, emotion slipping away from my voice. Is what we have only here because the goddess forested upon us? Leela, don't say that. He begged, voice cracking. I knew you for 3 weeks and stood over your empty grave like I knew you for centuries. I knew you for 3 weeks and cried over you more than I did my father and mother. I knew you for 3 weeks and mourned you for 25 years. I waited for you for 1/4 of a century until your bond left mine. Until everyone told me you were dead and I finally believed it. He was frustrated, so completely and utterly torn apart. Did I not deserve to forget your absence for even 1 year? He asked, hands falling against his thighs in defeat. Did I not deserve to live without craving for your presence for even a fraction of the time I spent mourning for it? I knew it wasn't fair of me to project my pain onto him. Trust me, I knew it, but I didn't know what to do. My pain was just piling like a stack of bricks that would soon crash down on me, forcing me to suffocate in its great weight. It was too much. Father was sick. Nader was an alpha. Slayman had kids I still didn't know that names too. I still hadn't seen Laura. And now this. My eyes dropped to the ground, unable to face the thought that he looked at another woman the same way he looked at me. Unable to think about whether or not I was being too harsh or too lenient in my reaction. "Who is she?" I asked. He paused for a few beats, his breath loud and hastening by the minute before answering. "Aaliyah," he answered, eyes glued to me. Ali a moment. I resisted the urge to scoff. Our names shared the same letters. I was so angry, so filled with despair that I cowed and found it in me to respond to him. All I could do was change the subject. "We have to attend the ceremony." I wiped at my tears with aggression, walking to grab the door above our bedroom only to have him grab my wrist. "Fuck the ceremony," he rasped out, eyes red. "We are not leaving this room until I've made it clear to you that you are the only one for me. The moon did not force this upon us. Leela, your soul was made for mine. My just was carved out simply so that you could lay atop it comfortably. I am yours, and I will always be yours. Aaliyah is a great woman. She is someone I love, but not in the way I love you. I could never see her the same way I see you." My hand shook in his. My throat tightened, unable to form words. "I can't. Leela, don't think for 1 second that I would ever choose her over you." He said it with passion so robust a breath like my throat. "Aaliyah and I helped one another grieve our past. But you are going to be my future, my present, my everything. You are mine, just as much as I'm yours. The minute you came back, Aaliyah became my past. Leela, please, you must understand me. Did you yearn for her touch?" My head tilted, analyzing the way his eyes rose and his lips lowered. He shook his head at my question, turning around as disappointment radiated off of him in waves. Silently, he walked to the window, running an exasperated hand down his face as he stared at the kids jumping into the sandy shores lining our home. "I don't know how to explain it to you. Leela," he began, tone subdued. "We were two morning souls who helped one another see light once more. She held me as I cried about you. I held her as she cried about her male." Luca paused, carefully articulating his next words before speaking. "There was a time where I thought I loved her, where I thought she would make a good life companion, where I thought she was beautiful. And then Laura asked me the golden question. I held my breath. She asked me if I would choose Aaliyah over you if the possibility came that you were to ever come back." He finally faced me, jaw ticking, instantaneously. "I said I would pick you. I didn't. I cowed and think about it. That's when I sat Aaliyah down and told her. And she understood. Guilt. It was an awful feeling the way it coolly slithered up your veins. In fact, she was offended that I even thought she harbored the idea that I would pick her over you." He shook his head, almost at himself. "She's a good woman. Leela, a good woman. The minute you arrived, she packed up her things from the guest bedroom and left without a second word." I swallowed, unable to meet his eyes once more. "We never shared a bed. We never shared desire. We never shared what you and I have. All we shared was grief. And now that mine is gone, nothing binds us to one another." He took slow steps towards me, all until he was right in front of me, towering over my heaving body. "You are all I ever want. Leela, you are all I need." Even when I was angry, the urge to lean into his warmth never lessened, not even by a centimeter. I had no words to say. He answered my every question with the truth and nothing but truth, and I appreciated that. Truly, he ripped the bandage off and replaced it with a new one that would allow my wounds to heal much faster than before. "Thank you," I whispered, looking up at him. The minute my eyes locked with his gaze softened, shoulders drooping in the process. Without a second thought, he pulled me into his chest. My arms instinctively wrapped around the circumference of his waist as I dug my head into his chest. "I'm sorry," I spoke into his shirt, voice muffled. "I'm sorry for reacting the way I did. Time for me didn't flow like it did for you. I still cannot fathom that 26 years have passed. You deserve to forget. You deserve so much. Don't. 𝐿𝐤. He shushed. That last thing I want to hear is an apology from you. Luca laid a soft kiss atop my head, sighing. Don't ever walk away from me like that. 𝐿𝐤, he said, voice shaky. Am I understood? I nodded, tightening my grip around his waist. 𝐿𝐤 was a good woman, but that did not mean I liked her or that I had to like her. At the end of the day, she had eyes for my male, and at one point, my male had eyes for her. I would be sure to keep an eye out for her. Come on now, we have a ceremony to attend to. Your ceremony, to be more specific. I hoped she would be at the ceremony. Chapter 50 for filler. I knocked onto the back door of Father's palace, letting out a shaky breath as I waited beside Luca. We were driven by two guards who could tame the carriage, forbidding anyone from seeing the both of us. It was a shame because it did not give me the chance to see the Northerners through the wonderfully carved window. More importantly, 𝐿𝐤. I knew the Momens when I was younger. They were good people. Both of our families struggled to make coin. In fact, it was what made the both of us bond with one another so well. What happened after the Northern War was something I could not answer. Though, the door opened, revealing an excited 𝐿𝐤. Seeing him always pushed the mere breath out of me. Just a day or two ago, he was 8 years old. 𝐿𝐤, come in. Father cannot wait to speak with you. He smiled, gesturing for us to enter the room. I returned the smile to him, nodding as I walked through the door with Luca's hand gracing the small of my back. 𝐻S waiting for you in the living room. King Luca and I will discuss, pack matters. Take your time. The ceremony begins in hours, so there's no rush. All right, 𝐿𝐤 insisted. Why was he so excited to see me? He seemed to radiate happiness at the fact that I was breathing the same air as he. It unsettled me, but I did not show it. I refused to show it. I didn't know more than half of what my stepbrother had been through, so I ought to accept his overwhelming waves of glee. All right, I replied, turning to face Luca. I'll see you then. He laid a warm kiss to my forehead, wrapping a hand around my neck before letting go quickly. I'll see you then. He agreed, disappearing into the palace my dad had built. I took in a deep breath, counting to 5 before walking through the arched hallway that led to the living room. Tens of Persian carpets stained the ceramic floors of Father's home, filling a foreign hollowness in my chest with every soft step I took. The scent of oud rushed up my nostrils, evoking inexplicable waves of nostalgia throughout my body. My body ceased to move when my eyes landed on a specific painting that hung dead center in the living room, taking up a large chunk of the wall. 𝐿𝐤 and I took slow steps towards the painting, until it was inches away from me, until the scent of the old paints rushed my nose and seeped into my brain. Tears lined my eyes as the strings of my heart pulled. That was the painting 𝐿𝐤 pulled me through the streets of the northern markets to paint when he was 8. The one he practically forced me to sit down for almost 10 hours just so that 𝐿𝐤 could get the green of my eyes right. 𝐿𝐤 looks at the painting every day before leaving the house. Father's voice rang from behind me, forcing me to face him with glossy eyes. Every few months, he would brag about how he got to sit with the mighty warrior of the north for hours on end. How he was the only man on earth able to convince you to step aside from your warrior duties just to be in a paint with him. I swallowed, a traitorous stare slipping from my eyes and onto my powdered cheeks. You were his idol, Father said, walking towards me, a cane supporting his weight. When I told him it was time for him to take my reign, he said he began preparing the day after he met you, the day he saw you in that armor of yours. That he was ready. All because of you, 𝐿𝐤. My lower lip shook with robust emotion, with regret that I wasn't able to fulfill. Father sat on the couch that faced the painting, sending me a warm smile. Come, he asked. Sit with me. Silently, I followed his command and sat beside him, quiet tears flowing down the apples of my cheeks. Why do your eyes bleed? 𝐿𝐤, he queried, wiping my tears with his thumb. Why do you mourn? I I miss so much. My voice quivered. It's all too much. It's all I'm overwhelmed. Why are you overwhelmed? He asked. If you truly understood your purpose, the sheer power you hold, you would not be overwhelmed. But a messenger birdie has told me that you do not feel you deserve all this love. He let out a breath. 𝐿𝐲, you are a mighty warrior. You are a soul that roams our grounds once. Every 10 centuries as overwhelming as that maybe you must begin to own it. I know, it's not what I'm used to. I replied, red eyes facing the patterned carpet. It's too much. Father squeezed my knee, compelling me to look up at him. His eyes were just as red as mine were. And that's my fault. He admitted. I should have held you more. I should have bandaged your wounds more. I should have made all this your normal. My lips parted, shock saturating my veins, but he continued. In all my 26 years, 𝐿𝐲, I have never felt more unworthy than I did when I found out you disappeared. He shook his head, disconnecting his eyes from mine. But I promise, I tried. I sent out as many soldiers as I could. I sent out all the men that were willing to look for you, but most didn't come back. I couldn't bear bring upon the willing families the pain your disappearance brought me. I couldn't. I pursed my lips, a futile attempt to stop my sobs from escaping the base of my throat. A failed attempt. I looked for you myself. I looked for you so much the Northerners began outing my abilities as alpha. So eventually, when I stopped feeling your bond, I didn't look further. He cupped my face in his hands. It was easier to accept that you were dead than to think you were out there, starving and cold, all because I didn't come home fast enough. It's fine, I promise. Dad, you did everything you could. The day I believe that is the day I die. Father pulled my head to him and laid a kiss to the top of my forehead before enveloping me in his arms. You're not going anywhere now. You're my only cure. Cure. I pushed myself out of his embrace. Cure for what? He waved an nonchalant hand. Nothing you couldn't fix. The elders said I was losing my memory, most probably due to stress. The day he came back, I stopped looking into the memory box Kate made me. And my memories came back. Bubba, I croaked, forcing his brows to rise. This is the first time you've called me that since the war. He said in so much awe he had to readjust his posture. An embarrassed blush stained my cheeks. Is it? Oh, it definitely is. I would have noticed if you had before. He insisted, a small smile making its way to his lips. Well then, I guess I'll be calling you that more often. I assured upon the smile that rested on his northern features. He sighed, assessing the curves of my nose and the dips of my cheeks. You look just like your mother. He admitted. She would have been so proud of you. I looked down, unable to meet his comforting eyes. I know, I said. I know she would have. She was always a beautiful woman. To this day, I do not know why she picked to wed me from several other wealthier men who asked for her hand. He shrugged, smiling once more at the thought of Mom. She always said this. Though, take them poor, and the goddess will bless them with so much more than wealth. Smart woman, she was. I reminisced, leaning into the couch. Indeed. He let out a breath before meeting my eyes once more. Do you have any questions before we begin the ceremony? We must rehearse within the next hour, so you must be quick. I pursed my lips as a question arose in my head. There is one question. I confessed. Ask it. Then, it's going to take my dignity away with it. Just ask it. 𝐿𝐲, nothing can strike your dignity. I sighed. Who is 𝐿𝐲 and what does she look like? Chapter 55. We have all gathered here today to welcome back the soul who fought for our lands. Father began, standing in front of the podium. As you all may have already seen, the fearsome warrior of all four kingdoms has finally arrived. Whereas our war lasted a day, hers lasted 26 wearying years. I took a deep breath from the side of the stage, fisting the curtain that shielded me from the Northerner's vision. It took everything in me not to disappear once more away from the judgment of my people. What if they thought I didn't do enough? What if they thought I was strong enough? What if they thought I was weak, underserving, worthless? 𝐊𝐤 is the reason peace has graced our kingdoms once more. She is the reason the children of today and tomorrow can roam our grounds with carelessness and without fear. Father's knuckles whitened against the podium with every word he spoke. She risked a quarter of a century of her life so that everybody else's could flow freely, whereas hers stopped. Tears crawled out the depths of my heart, begging to be let out by the hold of my eyes. I refused. I refused to let the Northerners see me cry. But she is back now. She is back and ready to fend for her people once more. Murmurs arose from the crowd, further tightening the knots twisting in my heart. She is back, and she wants to speak with you all. Father stepped down from the podium, turning so that he was facing me. My life has begun. From that moment on, my life in the real world began. As I walked out of the curtains and into Father's hold where thousands upon thousands of Northerners could finally see me in my true form, my life truly began. No longer was I a fleeting memory, or an empty grave. No longer was I part of a long-awaited prophecy nor a vessel in the potent outskirts. I was 𝐊𝐤. I was alive. Every gasp, every prospect or shock that radiated from the crowd consulted me in my mission to be reborn. It felt as though I were a blank canvas, waiting to be painted by the individuals who thought I had passed. Father squeezed my hands, eyeing me with devotion so fervor 𝐿𝑢𝑠 my legs weakened. Before stepping of the stage, leaving me to face my people once more, I took a deep breath, oxygen swooshing into my lungs. It was time. In the front rows at the royal and leading families, Laura stared back at me through teary eyes, a child resting on her lap and another sitting right beside her. My heart tore at the sight. �K𝐼𝐬, that damned brute, smiled. He smiled at me, a warm, genuine smile. An old woman with a shaved head, one that sat right next to Luca, stared at me with pride. She had an arm that was stained with northern inks, pattern so ancient it made me want to bow down to her presence. I will start off by saying that the war was won not because of me. I began, but rather, it was because of you, all of you. Without the help of all four kingdoms, the war would not have been the victory it was today. My leg shook underneath the skirt of my caftan. I would like to thank you all for risking your lives for a cause you did not fully understand nor comprehend simply because a warrior of your blood was fighting alongside you. I panned the area above my chest where my heart rested. And here lies grief. Grief I thought could not be replaced the night I lost my mother. 𝐿𝐤. Pathetic tears lined my vision as I spoke. And here lies the pain of losing the most precious gift the goddess could have ever bestowed us, with the gift of time. That somehow, as I look at you all, my people, the hollowness that clouds my spirit is lifted and replaced with love I thought I could not find nor deserve. I look down, unable to face the unfiltered admiration the Northerners granted me, watching as a traitor 𝐿𝐤 dropped onto the wood of the podium I spoke upon. I would like to apologize for not trying hard enough, for having to force you all to join me in a war I would have much rather faced myself, but I would also like to thank you and the rest of the kingdoms. I straightened my shoulders, facing the awaiting eyes of my people. Balance has finally been restored. The moon's destiny is in place. Victory has been achieved once, and for all. The Northerners roared, hugging one another as they sang my name in gratitude. I shut my eyes, taking in slow, deep breaths as I appreciated the moment in its rawest form. Pride. They were prideful. All of them were so completely and utterly proud of, not just me, but themselves, and I was glad that they had included themselves into the equation, for it would have not been fair if they did not. I opened my eyes once more, smiling at the sight in front of me. For the first time in my life, I felt proud of myself. I looked back at the front row, watching as the royal family and my own clapped for me, standing from the comfort of their seats and roaring with the commoners as one. Laura's children jumped in glee at the sound. I itched to get off the stage, to hug them and pronounce myself as their aunt. I itched to run into Laura's arms and speak to her of how much I missed her and her colors. I craved to hold the young Northerness and speak of them, of the adventures that would soon be awaiting them as their stories grew. Thought interrupted my joyful thoughts. More so. A woman. 𝐿𝐤 a moment. I scanned the crowd, pausing on every woman who happened to merely fit father's description of the infamous widow. I scanned and died. I analyzed and examined, all until my eyes met the eyes of a chestnut-haired woman who was staring directly back at me, shoulders slugged forwards with tears running down her cheeks. A warm smile was plastered across her lips. She was beautiful, but why was it that she was the unhappiness at my presence? Why was it that she was a cloud in a sky full of stars? Father rejoined me at the podium, bringing me back to reality. All foods will be of no cost today. There will also be a today holiday to celebrate the arrival of the Northern Warrior. You are all excused. The guard will not be able to answer to any of your queries until after the full moon has passed. So please, treat her as you would treat any other Northerner. Father ordered like a true alpha. You are all excused to celebrate now. As the crowd dissipated, 𝐿𝐤 remained in her place, unmoving. I walked down the stairs of the stage, maintaining eye contact with the woman who held a special place in my male's heart. I walked until I was in front of her, a kilometer separating us from meeting one another. Upon noticing, Luca approached me and laid a hand on my shoulder. 𝐿𝐤, please don't do anything rash, he said, breath fanning my face as he stared down at me. I trust that you won't. Oh goddess, how I've missed you, Lara interrupted, slamming into me as she wrapped her arms around me, lips gracing my ears. I never really liked the woman, but she's actually quite nice. Don't be too rough on her. They'll be waiting here to steal you away once you're done with her, she whispered. Thank you, Lara, at the witch, Lara, I whispered back, smiling gratefully at her before facing 𝐿𝐤 once more. She gulped. I took long, strong strides towards 𝐿𝐤 until centimeters separated our skins from touching. She was short, head barely reaching my neck. You're far more beautiful than I imagined, she croaked, wiping a straight air from her cheeks. Lucas' descriptions of you could not encapsulate the beauty you radiate. I'd prefer if you do not call him that, I said. 𝐾𝐞𝐬𝐵. He is Luca to me, and the king to you. You're all as well, she continued. Lean, but just perfect for him. The goddess has sewn my soul so that it fit the king's one perfectly, I responded, analyzing the soft features of her face. It would be blasphemy if I lost. I know, she nodded, tired eyes meeting mine. I know, oh itch, I know. So why is it that you took interest in my mail knowing there was a possibility I would come back? I asked, shoulders straightening instinctively. Why is it that you thought it was appropriate to be fond of a man whose soul was already taken? That, I do not know. She pursed her lips. Half of my soul was ripped apart from me. And now, the only male I sought to fill it is out of the question. I'm sorry, but you brought that upon yourself. 𝐿𝐤, 𝐿𝐤. I watched as her eyes snapped away from mine, as shame fell off her on waves. You knew there was a possibility I would come back, yet you still took him, regardless of the fact that you knew he was going to choose me over you. Does he not deserve humility as well? She asked, jaw ticking. Or was it just I who brought this upon myself? Did the king ever tell you that he would wed you? Did he ever tell you that he would make you his? Did he ever indicate that he found you as anything other than beautiful and a soul to fill the vacancy I left behind? Her bottom lip quivered as she shook her head. Then it is you who deserves humility more than he. He made it clear to you that I came first, and you accepted it. I am not saying it was right for him to continue his relationship with you, but I am saying you are more wrong for staying knowing he was not going to make any move to develop what you both had. I heard him speak to his sister about how he felt a need to protect me, how he thought he loved me. She shook her head for the nth time that day. Lips pursed as tears flowed down the apples of her cheeks. But Lara had to convince him he was only in love with the idea of me. It's not convincing if it was the truth. I sighed, watching as more tears ran down her face. 𝐿𝐤, a king's instinct will always be to protect. He would have said that to any woman he met, romantic or not, to console you even more. Luca would have never agreed to meet you if it weren't for that face that you were widowed. I know, it's just how long did you know your male before he passed away? I interrupted. Almost 5 years. Her eyes widened. I mean 3 weeks. I knew him for 3 weeks before he passed. My brows furrowed. Say that again. I ordered, focusing my ears on the beating of her heart. I knew my male for 3 weeks before he died. My lips parted. You lie. You lie. I accused. A smirk crawling up my lips. You're lying. I am not. Lying to a member of a leading family is treason. 𝐊𝐢𝐬. I lowered my voice, angling my head so that our noses were almost touching. Don't think for a second that I'm not listening to your heart as we speak. She let out a hastened breath, stumbling backwards. It was the only lie, I swear to you. I let out a sadistic laugh, head facing the noon skies as my shoulders bounced. So you manipulated him. I got up in her face once more. You manipulated my male into falling for you out of pity. You took him when he was vulnerable because you knew he would not have even looked at you when he lost. Warm hands wrapped around my waist, pulling me backwards. Luca. How perfect. I almost sang, facing 𝐊𝐢𝐬's starry eyes. 𝐊𝐢𝐬, how about you tell the king what you just told me? Please don't, 𝐊𝐢𝐬, this is unnecessary. Luca almost begged, squeezing at my waist. I will have your entire family's heads on sticks if you do not. 𝐊𝐢𝐬, I threatened. She let out a bratty breath. I do not answer to you. I only answer to the king. She scoffed, without a second thought. I grabbed the hairs right at her scalp and pulled her so that her back was facing my front. With my other hand, I slid my dagger out of my back, placing it on her neck. Tell him, I growled, and that is an order from your queen. She writhed in my grip, a futile attempt at resisting my order before bursting into a fit of tears. I lied. She cried out. I lied. I knew my male for 5 years before he passed. But Luca, I didn't mean to. Silence, Luca commanded, running his eyes down the length of her body in disgust. He looked feral. I have nothing to say to you. He told 𝐊𝐢𝐬, but I have a request, one I will fulfill if you do not. Yes, she asked, almost pleading with him. Burn the green kaftan I purchased for you. You should never wear color so beautiful, not now. Not ever.